All right. Hi everyone, and it is a good and wonderful evening. We're going to have a chat around what we discussed. Just allow me to correct my camera here. Around what we discussed, and we are talking tonight about the fact that what you say is not as important as how you say it. And so we're going to wait a little bit just to allow for the stragglers to jump on board. If you're already live, if you're already on the chat, go ahead and hit us up. Tell us where you're listening from, where you're hearing me from, and we'll pick up and start running shortly. But it's good to have you. We had a wonderful time chatting last evening at orientation class for our cohort, our stage cohort members, and it is still open for those of you who are looking to join us. We are still running with that particular cohort. The first official class is going to be this Thursday at 8 p.m. That being said, welcome to tonight's session, our masterclass. We're going to have a wonderful time talking and sharing around understanding the importance and how powerful communication can be. And so as we wait for those who are still joining, please go ahead, give me a bump. Let's see a comment or two about those of you who've already logged on, so we can know that you can hear me and you can see me, and then we can take off flying. Sure, go ahead and just give me some feedback in the group. Give me some feedback that you can see me, you can hear me. Yes, all right, that's good. So I can see that we're doing good. We are live and people can hear me and see me. Just a moment. Thank you. And let me make sure that our gadgets are connected here. We don't have any disturbances going forward. Rightio. Great. So we're going to get into the meat of tonight's masterclass. And the ideas around communication have to be clarified in order for you to understand the journey that you are on. Now, I want to say this, that if you spend most of your time working on the words that you're going to say on a presentation, unfortunately, you're working on the least part of the element of communication. If you are so concerned and you spend 80% to 90% of your time structuring the words that you're going to say, you are unfortunately working on the least element of your communication. Communication begins, hear me now, communication begins long before the first word is said. So communication begins not when you start talking, but it is the package that you present that allows you to stand out as a communicator. Wonderful, thank you so much. I'm seeing those comments. Thank you, it's good to see that you're on. Awesome, and that you can hear me, that's brilliant. So to go back to what I just said, what you say is not as important as how you say it. And so you must learn to put effort into the package that you present. We have spoken quite extensively about presence. If you are looking to hear about that, please go ahead and follow us on our platforms and you'll find a video that specifically speaks to presence. We've spoken about visual image. Tonight, I want to deal with 3 things that lend to your communication. And understanding these things will make you an effective, a powerful, and influential communicator. And if you do not know these things, you become the kind of person who's worked so well. The words that you've structured and said might be so beautiful, so powerful, so impactful, but because you have not said them in the correct way, you find that people are not able to walk away from an engagement and an encounter with you the way they should have. And so can you imagine having sat down, you structured your presentation so well, you used beautiful words, you used all the words that you know, bombastic words, huge and powerful words, and yet you are able to see at the end of your presentation that your audience did not walk away with what it is that you're looking for them to walk away with. Wouldn't that be sad? Wouldn't that take you aback? As a communicator, you must then be careful to understand that it is not only what you say. In fact, what you say is not as important as how you say it. Now that's counterintuitive, isn't it? You would think to yourself, I mean, Coach Mike, if we're going to deal with communication, surely the words, the things that I'm going to convey, the things that I'm going to say must be the majority, must be the most important element of the presentation. But the answer is no. And allow me to give you an example here. Imagine with me that you are sitting across, or rather you're watching your lover, and they're preparing, in this scenario, you're a man like myself, and they're preparing dinner for you. And then you have the urge to tell them that you love them. And so, first scenario, you call and say, hey, babe, come sit here. I want you to know something. I love you. I really love you. Second scenario, same thing. You're looking at this person that you love. You're looking at this person who has helped you build a life that is worthwhile. And you say, babe, come sit here. You hold her hands and you look deep into her eyes and you say, I love you. I really love you. Now, both scenarios, exact same words used, but there is a difference in how whatever was said was said. And that is what makes the difference. That is what highlights you. That is what will set you apart as a communicator, knowing how to say things. It's one thing to know what to say. It's an entirely different story when you are brilliant at knowing how to say things. So this is what we want to discuss tonight. How do you say things in order for you to have the kind of impact, the kind of influence, the kind of response that you want to see from the people who are in your audience? How do you say things effectively? So the first thing we're going to talk about is being articulate. Articulation. Now, a lot of people might assume that articulation speaks to, being able to be eloquent. You say things and say words, you use big words, bombastic, telefantastic, all that kind of stuff. No. Articulation, the best way to explain that is for you to look at your hands. If you look at your hands, your fingers, you are able to hold on to things, to be dexterous is the word, right? To be able to hold on to things, to be, you have capacity to do because your fingers are articulated, all right? And because of that, you have capacity with your hands. You can hold, you can write, you can do all these things because your fingers are articulated. Now, if my finger was not articulated, my range of motion would have been restricted. Well, I can do this because it's articulated. That means these portions of my finger that allow to increase range of motion, that's being articulated. Now, if you're going to be articulate as a communicator, it means you must increase your range of motion as a speaker. What does that look like? First and foremost, understand that speakers, communicators are readers. You must have a command of the language that allows you to be, the word I said again, dexterous, to have range of motion. You can say something in varying different ways. I was going to town. I was transitioning. I was traveling to town. I moved towards town. So if you are a dexterous individual, it means you have capacity because of the words, your word base. You can say things in multiple different ways. And that only works if you're a reader. You're consistently increasing your word base, your vocal range, your capacity. You are articulate. And so someone who's articulate never has troubles talking. You ask, Coach Mark, tell me about your day. And the way I'm going to explain it to one person will be different from the way I'm going to say it to another person. Same exact day. But because you have a range of motion, you have increased your capacity with the words that you have, with your phrases. There are similes, there are sayings and proverbs that you use. And so in conversation, you're able to say, there's a common proverb that says, the power of life and death is in the tongue. Rather than someone saying, your tongue is powerful, how you speak is powerful, this particular individual is able to bring up a proverb to lend conversation. That makes you articulate. That makes you stand out. That means that as you speak, people are able to latch on to specific engagements, specific portions of your presentation that allow them to remember and actually walk away with their portion from your presentation. That is being articulate. So read extensively, read everywhere and as much as you can. Why? Because that helps you be articulate. Be a student of culture. And so you can use references from movies, references from stories, from radio. Why? Because you are the kind of individual who is consistently building on their range, their capacity to communicate. So knowing multiple ways of saying things, having words that you can use when you're trying to communicate, that this is interesting, this is awe-inspiring, this is informational, this is intriguing. You are saying the same thing, but because you have so much range, you are able to be interesting in the way that you put your matters across. That is being articulate. And only people who actually engage, you read. Nowadays we have podcasts. Listen to podcasts. Listen to the long ones, 2-3 hour podcasts. Listen to how people actually convey their messages effectively. That helps you increase your bank, your reserve that you can use when it is your turn to present, when it is your turn to speak, and it is your turn to stand in front of people. So learn to be articulate. And always remember, when you look at your hands, that is a conversation, that is a reminder, be articulate. Increase your range of motion as a communicator, your range of motion whenever you stand and sit and speak in front of an audience. So be articulate. That's the first thing. Be articulate. Be intentional about acquiring skills that make you powerful when you're communicating. So if it means that you are an engineer, that means you sit down to read about the newest developments in your space. You have subscribed to platforms, newsletters that are talking about your field. You must know what is pertaining. Be abreast with what is going on in your field, so that whenever you are speaking, you have, again, a range of motion. You have capacity, you have got spaces and places to pull from in order for you to communicate effectively. All right, so that is it. First thing, be articulate. Be articulate. Make intentional efforts to become articulate. Read extensively. I'm at the moment reading a book that I've read a couple of times. I love this book. It's called As a Man Thinketh. It speaks to the psychology that breeds success. I listen to podcasts. I listen to men like Vusi Tembegwayo, who is the foremost public speaker in Africa. I listen to Jordan Peterson. Why? Because these are individuals who are articulate. Whenever they are asked a question, they are able to pull from a wealth bank, a reservoir, a depository of words, of scenarios, of experiences that they can pull from and be able to be relevant in any conversation. If someone's going to talk about leadership, because you're the kind of person who has invested in your capacity to be articulate, you are able to lend to that conversation. You've read books on leadership. You've read books on marriage. You've read books on youth. You've read books on all sorts of subjects, because your agenda is to be the kind of communicator that has influence, that has impact, that is powerful. And so this one, I cannot stress this more than I'm saying now. I cannot stress it enough. Invest in your capacity to be articulate. One of the things that I'll tell you now, and is really, really important, is that learn to think on paper. Even as I'm speaking to you now, I have my diary here, because ideas flow in unexpected ways. And so even as I'm sharing and speaking to you now, I know that there's a way that you need to capture these things. As I'm speaking, a thought might come, and as I say it, I'm able to quickly jot it down. Why? Because those things help me to be articulate. They help me to announce, present, and communicate effectively. In Zambia here, we have a gentleman called Quagmire. After this conversation, you can go on YouTube and Google that particular gentleman. An interesting fellow. Very, very bombastic in the way that he speaks. He's got brilliant, big words. But you see, like we're discussing today, what you say is important, but not as important as how you say it. And so when you're dealing with a serious matter, how you present it might actually drive attention away from the gravity of what you're saying and actually make it a joke or a meme. And that's what happened in this particular gentleman's case. Be articulate. Be articulate. Learn and make sure that you invest in your capacity to have a range of motion in conversation. Being able to speak relevantly, being able to pull on idioms, sayings, cultural references, movie references, pop culture references, whether it's news, whatever is going on, you're able to speak. Right now, we are having so many rumors around World War III. If you were to be asked to say, what do you think? Are you articulate enough? Do you have the words? Do you have the scenarios? Do you have the references to be able to say, I don't have much to say about this thing, but what I can say is, one, the makings of a war require more than just speculation and noise. And secondly, it seems that those who are reporting about these things are exaggerating for the sake of numbers and ratings. And so I do not really have much to say. But with those few words, I think I don't see World War III starting as people are predicting. But I guess everything is waiting on time. We'll wait and see what will go on. Someone will say, okay, Michael didn't say much, but the way he said it and what he used to articulate his position on this World War III agenda was intelligent. You might not have had all the facts, but because you are articulate, you are able to lend to any conversation, even briefly, in a way that causes those around you to say, okay. Didn't say much, and he did say that he doesn't know much, but how he presented the little he brought onto the table was quite interesting. Be articulate. Be articulate. I really want to emphasize this. Be articulate. It helps you deal with the how you present. So when someone is going to say something, you can use a proverb. You can use a reference, whether it's a reference from scripture, a Bible, a reference from a book that you've read. It helps you articulate. It helps you say things better. It helps you with the how, not only the what. Being articulate. The second thing, oh my goodness, the second thing is learn how to tell stories. Be interesting. So first, be articulate. Secondly, be interesting. You must know how to add flavor to your conversation. Flavor. You cannot be monotone. You cannot just talk to us about an instance. So imagine with me that you are in an interview and you are asked, Michael, tell us about yourself. The response you can give is, because you know you're in there to showcase that you have the skill set and the know-how to be relevant to that particular job. And in our scenario, let's say this job is a sales job. And so you've been asked, hey, tell us about yourself. And the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, well, I am a very hardworking individual. I have the track record in this particular space. I've been working for over a decade in sales. And as I stand with you today here, I've got track record of solving problems. I have a track record of leadership, and I have a track record of actually meeting and even beating targets in order for me to be the kind of person that you're looking for. All right? Or you can be asked the same question. Tell us about yourself. And usually this is an icebreaker. It's an opener. And you say, well, one of the things that I would want to share about me is that when I was much younger, I was actually a champion swimmer. I was so good that at the age of 16, I was actually asked to represent our country in an international meet. And when I went there, the thing that I learned around competition, around challenges, around being able to strive or thrive in an environment that is high pressure, is that you have to have prepared. You have to be the kind of person who is diligent in your preparation. When it's time to deliver, you deliver to the best of your abilities. And I'm glad to say, in that particular meet, I came out first. And so as I sit before you today, I know what it means to be diligent, to apply yourself in order for excellence. I know what it means to operate under pressure and deliver when it matters the most. Same response, or at least similar response. But the second one is more interesting. Why? Because there was flavor to the response. And whenever you find yourself in any presentation, any room, any conversation, your agenda as a communicator is to ensure that you lay eggs. You must be memorable. Never forget that. You must be memorable. And in order for you to be memorable, what you say will not be as important as how you say it. Yes, you are diligent. Everyone else who will walk into the room will say, I'm a diligent worker, I'm a hard worker. Why should you be the one we remember? Because how you say things matters more than what you say. So learn to be interesting. How do you do that? We've already spoken about gathering information that allows you to be articulate. Gather stories and experiences. Pay attention to the things that actually are noteworthy around your life, around the things that you experience. It can even be something that happens right on the day of the interview. As you are driving in, maybe something happens on the road, a frustration, a problem, a challenge. You can be able to pull on that in real time to be able to be interesting, to stand out. And so your power as a communicator leans heavily on your capacity to lay eggs, to be memorable, for people to look back and say, oh, you know, I don't really remember what Michael said, but I remember that as he spoke, I was excited. As he spoke, I was inspired. As he spoke, I was taken aback. I was appreciating my life as he communicated. People might not remember you. They might not remember your name, the words you spoke, but they will definitely remember how you made them feel. And this leads me to my third point. So first, be articulate. Secondly, be interesting. And thirdly, emote. Learn to leverage emotion. Like I said, people might not remember what you said. People might not remember who you are, your name, but they will definitely remember how you made them feel. And so how do you emote? How do you make people travel into the things that you are talking about? The first thing is, even if you've gathered information that allows you to be articulate, even if you've banked up stories, you must learn not to narrate. Don't report a story, relive it. Relive the story. Take us into the emotion, take us into the story. So you can say, for instance, I remember when I was younger, we used to climb guava trees all the time. They were around our house. And one time I fell out of the tree. I actually passed out. And when I woke up, I was at home in my room bleeding. Or you can say, oh, when I was much younger, I used to love climbing trees, love it. And so we had all these guava trees around our house. There were so many, and they actually produced these wonderful, juicy guavas. And so all the time, me and my friends were always up in the tree. And then one time, as excited as we were, there was this time we were climbing the tree and I was reaching out for this particular guava. And as soon as I touched it, everything went black. And all of a sudden, as I woke up, I was feeling this heart-throbbing pain. I could barely breathe. And I was not at the tree. I was not on the ground. I was actually at home and I was bleeding and people were panicking around me. Same story. What is happening is that in the second one, you are able to know, you are able to travel with me. The excitement of climbing trees, the excitement of about to enjoy this guava, the excitement around the fact that this person is hurt, I'm bleeding, there's pain, there's all. You are reliving the story and not just telling it. What that does, it is allowing your audience to connect, to feel with you, to emote with you. Making people feel goes beyond how about learning that your voice is an instrument, your tone. Talk about when you are excited, you go quickly, you speak louder, you speak faster, because that is what excitement does. And when you are sad and sober, you are softer, you're quieter, you pause for people to feel the gravity of what was going on. I can remember the first time I experienced what loss was. I had heard people talk about it. It had never come as close as it did that day. I can't explain it. But I know I felt so numb. I didn't know what I was going through. Now you are bringing your people, because of your tone, how you are speaking, softer, more gravitas, lower tone. But when you're excited and you're talking, this is why whenever you see people, no matter how deep your voice is, when they are talking to a baby, because babies respond to excitement, you find this high, Hi, how are you? Hi. Oh my goodness. Why? Because you are speaking to excitement. Babies are excitable. When you want to communicate gravitas, authority, you drop your tone. You say, what I'm about to tell you is very important. I need you to know that from this day forth, if you're going to be a communicator par excellence, learn to invest in articulation. There you are communicating authority. While you're using your tone to vary and to bring emotion into your conversation. You're not monotone, you're not just there, but you are using your voice, your tone, your volume, the rate of speed to ensure that you are communicating the emotion in the journey with whoever it is that you are speaking with. If you want to be a communicator that understands and is able to take people from one place to another, you must invest in your how. You must invest in your how. Here at Stage, we believe in the fact that it is not about preparing for an event, preparing for a presentation. We believe in being prepared. One of the most interesting things that I share is a story around one of my mentors. And the conversation that changed his life happened in a toilet. Now, how many of you have ever prepared to go to a toilet and you told yourself, you know what, I need to read through, I need to study how I'm going to have a conversation with someone that I meet in the toilet. But because this conversation happened to a person who was ready, not for the conversation, but prepared with a toolkit that allowed him to navigate any space he found himself in effectively, he was able to get a job from a toilet conversation. A toilet conversation. That means that this particular young person at the time was interesting. Secondly, they stood out. And thirdly, they allowed for emotion. This particular person got excited in conversation with this guy. Said, I have to have you come work for me. I have to have you. Can you imagine that? This is why we continue to say that public speaking, communications, your communication skill is the one thing that has the capacity to change your life, a complete 180 if you learn how to do this thing. And so it's not important only. Now, I want to be clear here. You have to prepare what you're going to say. You have to put your ideas together well, say them well, but how you say them is going to be more important than exactly what you are saying. And so first things first, articulation. Invest in your capacity to have range of motion. The more you can, the more you can say, the more the amount and capacity you've built around your communication, the more powerful you can be. The second thing, be interesting. Be interesting. Invest in your capacity to be interesting. Collect stories, collect experiences. They might not be your experience, like the story I tell about my mentor and his toilet experience. They might not be your personal experiences, but they lend to the conversation that you are having. Gather them and learn how to feed them in to your stories. Being interesting, right? Like we said, it's not just stories you bring in. It is proverbs, it is similes, it is statements, it is pop references, movie references, cultural references that you bring, and then you're able to be relevant to your audience. One of the things that is is a fulfillment of mine. So one of the things that I love and enjoy doing is talking and engaging with men. The reason is because I feel that among men, the story, whether it's the boy child, it is teens, it is young professionals, the conversation has been so strong and lopsided around empowering women and getting them to the spaces that bring them on the stage, right? But the statistics show that the conversation around men has dwindled. And yet, you will see that suicide, mental health, and all these detrimental experiences, if you go to any pub today, if you go to any brothel, any when it's in the compound, you'll find it's young men that patronize these spaces. And so when we talk, we structure conversations that must inspire, that must pull these young men out of these crazy and unfortunate circumstances. And if you've ever had conversations with men, they are the ones who actually scrutinize what you say very, very, very seriously. And so you have to know how to say things that matter to them. You have to know how to say things that cause them to think and to reason outside of their current situation, how to inspire them towards a future that is brighter than what they're experiencing. And so what I'm saying now can actually be the reason you are able to have impact. How you say things will matter. How you say things will matter. And like I said, communication begins long before the first word is uttered, long before you say anything. So how you approach someone may actually cause them to be guarded, to close themselves off from you, or to be open to listen to you. Whether you can talk with a smile, or when things are serious, you're able to hold yourself and say things powerfully. Now, in the conversation around understanding how to be an effective communicator, there are other things that I want to sprinkle into our conversation tonight that help you. There's a study of what we call proxemics, that's the study of distances. And for those of you who have the opportunity to present on Zoom or whatever, or on Google Meet, one of the things that you must know is that how you appear, even if online, can cause someone to actually pull away. And this is why, as you can see, I have given myself capacity. There's space. So the space I'm operating in now, the distance from the camera, where you can see my hand, you can see my torso, it's called the social space. That is the safest place to operate from. But if you notice on Zoom, people are right up to the camera, right up to the camera. That is called personal space. That belongs to your intimate partner. And so when you appear and how you appear causes a response. Already, you haven't said anything. And what you have to say is so important. But how you appeared on Zoom, someone's like, whoa, 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 this person is way too close. They're in my personal space. So there's personal space, and this is as close as my hand is. And then there is intimate space. Rather, there's intimate space, personal space, and social space. So give people the chance to see you. And what that does for you as well is it allows you now to use your body, your gestures, to begin to inform and add to the conversation. So whenever you're doing Zoom, whenever you're appearing online, you need to use this proxemics. Use that to actually lend to your conversation as well. Simple things like that. You don't know that there are triggers in individuals that allow them to either receive the message or close themselves off from what it is that you are presenting. So it is powerful to communicate. It is powerful to talk, and you can have the most wonderful presentation prepared if you have not taken care of the how. I dare say that you will find that your efficacy, your efficiency will drop even to single digits, 7%. Powerful. And like we said, your vocal communication is restricted to that little, a small percentage. And so you cannot then give 90% to the little and not develop how you say what you say. How you say what you say. There are people who have gone through their lives, especially in the African context, who've never heard their parents or their father or mother say to them, I love you. They've never heard those words. And then there are people who've grown up in other contexts where they've heard the word, I love you. They've heard that statement so many times. It is normal. So how you say this thing. So if someone walks up to you and says, I love you, how they say it, because of these different contexts and environments, will mean very, very different things as you listen and hear. I love you, or I love you. It can be said as a passive thing, as a normal thing, or someone can be intentional in communicating it to the point where you feel it on the inside. And so if you are going to have impact, if you're going to change lives, starting with your own through your communication, you must learn how to communicate, how to say things, how to say things. We spoke, and some of the videos that are on our platforms speak to presence, your visual image, your visual image. Why should you suffer? Why not give yourself the opportunity to actually have it easy? Why should you suffer as you appear in front of people? Why should how you have appeared work against you? When all you need to do is put yourself together a bit better than you did, and then people will be more open to talking to you. Here you are, you're preparing to present a talk, you're preparing to give a speech about success. And then you come, you're wearing ripped jeans, you're wearing an oversized t-shirt. Yes, what you say might be absolutely valuable, but because of how you have appeared to us, the how you are saying what you're saying is working against you. Here in the African context, in Zambia particularly, I mean, we are opening up to certain things. And so I speak to people and I say this very openly to say, look, you're a guy and maybe you've got dreadlocks and maybe you're a creative, you are a singer, you are an artist, that's great. But if you want to operate in specific spaces, as soon as you walk into the interview room and they see dreadlocks, they begin to discredit you. Because the space requires that how you look must lend to the things that you're going to say. You might be the best candidate for the job, but the how. So as long as you are saying, people, you're actually saying a lot of sense and all the people can see is your outlook. You are saying things, you are presenting things, and it's just entering on the left and going out on the right or the other way around. And they can't hear anything you're saying because they're so stuck on how you look, stuck on your presentation. That's your visual presentation. It's that crazy. You can lose a job. You can lose an opportunity just because of how you said things. So your how extends not only to your articulation, to your in being interesting, to the fact that you can store up and be able to bring out stories and cause people to emote. No, it also speaks to how you can use your body language. There are certain gestures that you do that can actually take away from the authority of your conversation. How you move, you can be pacing around the stage, and instead of it making you look like you are an authority in the space, you just look nervous to us. And so the how the information is coming towards us, including what we are saying, is taking away from your authority. You use your hands. Your hands are all over the place. They're not speaking and moving with what you're saying. We are actually being distracted by your hands. And yet your hands could be used to say, this is important. You are the person we're looking for. And they lend to the conversation rather than take away. How is so important. And it encompasses and envelopes a lot of elements. Like we're not talking about your body gestures, your resting state, how you look, how you say, how you move tells us a lot. Someone who is in charge, for instance, someone who is in control, does not shy away from pauses. That's one of the things that is so, the word is scary for people who are presenters, where you're on stage and you're talking, and then you go quiet. But who told you that silence is your enemy? Silence can be your most valued friend. If you're going to say something powerful, like the statement I've repeated multiple times in this particular conversation, what you say is not as important as how you say it. And then you use silence to allow those words to settle, to allow the people listening to you to process. What does he mean? What is he saying exactly? What you say is not as important as how you say it. You let your words settle. You use your movements, you use pauses, you use your tone, whether you are excited, whether you are speaking about something that is important, you slow down, you quieten, you cause your people to sit on the edge of their seat, to lean in, to know that this is important. How you say things is more important than what. So for instance, one of I wanted to say tricks, but one of the things that you can do and you must know about laying eggs and making sure that your audience remembers what you're talking about is repetition. This is why I have not shied away from saying this one statement multiple times throughout this presentation. What you say is not as important as how you say it. Why? Because then people can remember something from your presentation. And because it is part of the how, you are using repetition to ensure that people's minds latch onto an idea as you speak. You are using emphasis to make sure that they know this is important. There are people who say so many things, so much so that the audience doesn't know what should I hold on to? Where is what is important? But when you are understand how to say things, you know how to highlight to make sure that people understand and are following you. They know that this is important. This is essential. I must pay attention to this. And so, as a communicator, this is, I believe, the most important premise that you must work with. These are the things that you must engage with in order for you to ensure that whenever you stand up, whenever you appear online, whenever you have the chance to say anything, people remember you. People remember what you've said, and people are able to take something away from every presentation. One of the strategies we use when we're dealing with nerves is to tell people to get out of themselves. Because being nervous means that you're introspecting, you're looking at yourself, you're thinking, oh my goodness, is my jacket looking okay? I hope I'm sounding right. Oh my goodness, I hope I'm not looking nervous. And you just continue the cycle of looking nervous. And yet, if you come out of that and begin to ask yourself, am I serving this audience? As you're speaking, you can see how are the people reacting? How are the people seeming like they're pulling what you're putting out? Are they actually taking it in? And as the more you are audience-centric, the more powerful you become as a communicator. Because sometimes you'll start a conversation and realize that it is not settling the way you thought. And because you are a powerful communicator, you are able to pivot in real time, to pivot right there and then, and to take another tangent and be able to still reel them back in and have impact, to be able to lay eggs that cause you to be memorable. So tonight, these are the things that I wanted to talk to you about as we engage in the journey towards mastery when it comes to communication. You must know that what you say is not as important as how you say it. And so work on your how. Learn to be articulate. Increase your range. Increase your range. Be able to say things in multiple ways. In multiple ways. For me, when I look at my social media is so curated. So one of the pages that I follow, the owner of the page does a very, very interesting take on what they do. So for instance, they'll say, a video will come on and they'll say, in English, we say, I love you. And then they'll say, but in poetry, we'll say, whenever we are apart, I feel that the air I breathe has been withdrawn from me. I feel like my world is crashing down around me because you are not near. All right? The two people are expressing their emotion, their feeling towards this particular individual. Someone has said, I love you. Another person has shown that they are barely hanging on to dear life when this person is not nearby. Interesting. So I watch things like that. Why? Because I want to be dexterous. Yes, I want to have a range of motion. I want to be able to say things in interesting ways, in multiple ways, in ways that allow me to stand out. At the end of the day, every agenda around communication is so the audience can take something away. And you must stand out for that to happen. You must be memorable and you must be impactful. And so, be articulate, be interesting, learn to derive, to inspire emotion. Interesting. So today I've taken only about 44 minutes in our masterclass. I'm so grateful for those of you who take the time to actually come through and listen. And one of the things that I mentioned, and I want to reiterate because this is important, learn to think on paper. Learn to think on paper. Write things down. If you see a story, write it down, because what you're doing there is connecting mind to your hand, and you're able to remember, you're able to add that to your reservoir, to your bank, that you can bring it up and use it anytime you are communicating. So Have a diary, have a notebook around your journey in public speaking and communication, because it will help you. You go back to it to read it and to be able to pull out of the things that you are actually putting into your reserve. And so just I'll address a couple of things here. We still have our cohort, which started last evening. Thank you for those of you who attended our orientation class. We still haven't gone full force. So our first actual class is on Thursday, this very Thursday at 8 p.m. For those of you who are willing and still want to jump on board, please do. The 6-week program is running and is starting right on Thursday. And the cost is 1,000 kwacha for the whole 6-week program. We have a promo that we're running for this month as it's Women's Month. And you can break it down into 1 payment, 2 payments, and 3 payments. You can get in touch with us. Our office number is +2609 77696456. And for those of you who are outside the country, we can still be able to facilitate for how you can join this particular class. And on the 21st of March, this today was our virtual masterclass. On the 21st of March, we have our physical masterclass. And for that particular, you have to ensure that you register. We have limited slots. We can only take about 30 to 35 people in the room. And this particular one is so important, hey. We believe this skill requires actual practice. Communication is not about hearing someone speak on live like this, but actually taking the things that you are learning, writing them down, and then finding a space where you can practice. And so we want to see you in the room. If you're in Lusaka, you're around this area, please ensure that you reach out, register. We'll post everything in our groups. And if you're not in the group, reach out to that same number. If you're not in our network, the number again is +2609 77696456. Join us and let us help you grow this thing. Our masterclasses are free. We want you to actually look back at this year and be proud that this was the year you actually changed your life by developing your capacity to communicate. And tonight, we've dealt with the fact that it's not just what you say that is important, but how you say it matters more. Shalom, shalom. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us. See you in the next one, the physical masterclass on the 21st of March here in Lusaka. Cheers, and let's keep winning.